The heat clung to the sidewalks like a second skin. Malik Trenor turned down Oak Ridge Avenue, windows half cracked, the smell of lemon hand sanitizer faint on his fingertips. The grocery bag on the passenger seat shifted slightly as he made the corner. Eggs, herbal tea, a bouquet of sunflowers his grandmother adored. He hadn't been back to Pineville in over 4 years, but nothing had changed. Same crumbling curbs, same hush in the air that said, "Don't ask too many questions." The house he grew up in sat just 6 blocks away, but the patrol car that slipped behind him made the distance feel longer. He noticed it in the mirror first. White sedan, tinted visor, quiet, no siren, just following. Malik checked his speed, signaled early, switched lanes slow enough to be studied. Still, the lights blinked on. He exhaled, pulled over to the side, rolled down his window, and placed both hands high on the wheel. The cruiser door opened like a threat. Out stepped Officer Callan Brigg. Stocky, square jaw, thumb hooked over his holster. His walk wasn't fast, but it carried weight. He looked at Malik the way someone looks at an equation they don't want to solve. License and registration. Malik kept his voice calm, reaching into the glove box. Slowly. "Do it quick." He handed over the papers. The officer's eyes scanned, but his expression didn't change. "You from around here?" "Born here." "Visiting my grandmother." "You rented this car?" "Seattle. Doesn't exactly drive to Georgia." Brigg didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned forward, gaze sharp. "Step out of the vehicle." "For what?" "Step out now." Malik obeyed. Hands visible, movements smooth, his breath shallow. Brigg walked a slow circle around him, boots crunching the gravel. "You match the description of a suspect in a robbery earlier today. I've been at my grandmother's house since 7 a.m. You're welcome to verify." Brigg didn't. He radioed in, mumbled code, and kept watching Malik like he was waiting for him to blink wrong. Malik didn't. Turn around. Hands on the hood. "This is unnecessary. Do it." The heat from the metal stung his palms. The sun pressed down like judgment. Brigg's hands were rough during the pat-down. Unapologetic. "I'm not armed. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I solve ransomware cases, not commit felonies." "You talk too much." Brigg clicked cuffs around his wrists before backup even arrived. Malik didn't struggle. He didn't flinch. His voice stayed level. "You're making a mistake. You'll answer for resisting." "I didn't resist." Brigg opened the cruiser door and pushed him inside. Malik sat upright, silent. His phone buzzed against his thigh. He knew it was his grandmother. He imagined her watching from the porch, wondering where her flowers were. At the station, the walls were cold and yellowed. They took his fingerprints like they'd done it 1,000 times. A bench with peeling paint became his seat for the next 8 hours. No one explained anything. No phone call allowed. Just blank faces behind frosted glass. He didn't panic. He didn't break. Instead, Malik stared at the ceiling, thinking about protocols, procedures, and how easily those things were ignored. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Tasha Bell scrolled her feed while sipping black coffee. She froze when she saw the mugshot. Malik Trenor. She hadn't seen him since senior year. Top of their class, spoke at graduation. Now cuffed and processed like a stranger. Something didn't sit right. She closed her laptop, grabbed her press badge, and reached for her keys. Back at the station, Malik finally leaned his head against the wall. His wrists ached, but his mind was sharp. If they wanted silence, they'd picked the wrong man. Rain hit the streets in slow, deliberate drops as Malik stepped out of the station, shirt wrinkled, wrists sore. The air tasted like metal, and freedom didn't feel like a gift. It felt overdue. His cousin Danica waited beside her rusted sedan, arms crossed, eyes burning with questions. He slid into the passenger seat. Silence stretched between them until she asked, "What happened?" "They needed someone to blame," he said, eyes fixed on the windshield. Back at the house, his grandmother met him with a hug that lingered too long. Her sunflowers sat wilted in a water pitcher on the counter. He offered a tired smile, but said little. Sleep came late and restless. The next morning, Malik sat on the porch, coffee in hand, when Danica returned with her laptop and a stack of clippings. "You remember Langston? From Morehouse? He's a civil rights lawyer now." "Out in Charlotte," she said, pulling up a contact card. Malik nodded slowly. "Call him." Langston's voice on speaker was calm but clipped. "I saw the mugshot. I also saw the footage. You recorded it? On my smartwatch. Clean audio. No threats, no raised voice, no resistance." Langston paused. "Then we have leverage." Within hours, Malik forwarded the file. Langston reviewed it twice, then called back. "They're going to try burying this, deny everything, so we go bigger." Danica uploaded the video anonymously to a private server. Tasha Bell, already poking into Officer Briggs' record, received a link that night. She watched in stunned silence as the footage unfolded. No aggression, no threats, just a calm man treated like a criminal. Her article posted the next morning at 7 a.m. sharp. "Wrong, man, right fight when power turns against peace." By lunchtime, it had 40,000 views. At Pineville PD, Briggs slammed his office door. His captain handed him a printout of the article without a word. The headline stung, but it was the comments that turned his knuckles white. Typical. This happens every week. Another badge gone rogue. Public trust started to crumble. Meanwhile, calls poured into Langston's office. Former residents, ex-employees, even a retired mailman. All claimed they'd been stopped without cause, each story different but familiar. Danica created a timeline. Malik printed each account, tacking them onto the living room wall like puzzle pieces. Old complaints, sealed records. Patterns emerged. Then came the surprise. An elderly white man named Morris Harlan knocked on the porch screen door. "I knew Brigg when he first joined," he said, voice low. "Used to work under me. Covered for him once. Thought I was doing the department a favor. I wasn't." He slid a worn envelope across the table. Inside were copies of internal memos, disciplinary warnings, ignored reports, unsigned reprimands. Enough to suggest a history. Malik leaned back, stunned. "Why now?" Morris met his eyes. "Because I raised 2 grandsons who look like you. And I won't go to my grave knowing I stayed quiet." Word traveled. An old high school janitor spoke. Out next. Then a delivery driver. A pastor's niece. Story after story surfaced. Langston compiled them all into a formal petition for an internal investigation. Pineville's mayor, under pressure, issued a bland statement about protocol review and ongoing assessment. But behind the scenes, the department scrambled. 1. Morning. An envelope slid under Malik's door. No return address. Inside, a dashcam still image of the arrest. Briggs' hand mid-push, Malik's face turned, eyes calm, body still. It was time. Langston filed for a subpoena. He requested full access to the cruiser footage, radio logs, and incident transcripts. The paperwork was airtight. Brigg, meanwhile, stood in his driveway, staring at the news van parked 3 houses down. His wife hadn't spoken to him since the article dropped. His son asked why kids at school called his dad the bully cop. He poured a drink he didn't finish. That night, Malik returned to his grandmother's porch. The air had shifted, softer somehow. Not safe, but different. He looked out across the yard, voice steady. They cracked the door open. Danica lit a candle on the windowsill. Now we kick it off the hinges. The courthouse buzzed before the doors even opened. Reporters clutched notepads. Locals leaned against rails. Some came to support. Others came to doubt. A single camera crew waited at the corner, red light blinking, lenses fixed on the front, steps. Inside, Malik sat composed, navy suit crisp, jaw steady. Langston flipped through a thick folder beside him, his eyes scanning every line like a surgeon preparing for precision. Across the aisle, Officer Callan Brigg sat stiff, flanked by a union attorney and a silence he couldn't escape. His badge no longer shone. His name now drew whispers instead of nods. The judge entered. All stood. She took her seat with a firmness that signaled no tolerance for games. Langston rose. Your Honor, we request the admission of dash cam evidence, smartwatch video, and sworn affidavits from multiple residents regarding Officer Brigg's conduct. Permission granted. The courtroom dimmed slightly as the screen flickered to life. Footage began. Brigg's cruiser slowed behind Malik's rental. Lights activated. His voice ordered the stop. Commands followed. Malik complied without hesitation. Then the shove. Brigg's hand struck Malik's back, pushing him into the hood. No escalation, no threat. Just obedience, met with force. Gasps rippled across the room. The lights brightened again. The judge turned toward Brigg. Does this align with your original report? His lawyer intervened. Context matters, Your Honor. She raised a hand. I'm asking the officer. Brigg's voice was flat. Not entirely. Langston approached the stand. With quiet weight. Officer Brigg, you claimed my client was non-compliant. Did you see any refusal in that footage? Brigg hesitated. He questioned my request. Is asking a question a violation? No. Langston didn't smile. Then, what was? The threat? No reply came. Next, a man named Jerome took the stand. Former warehouse technician. Pulled over walking home in 2017. Slammed against a patrol car for reaching into his backpack. He described it slowly. Clearly. His hands trembled, but his voice never wavered. After him came Mrs. Dorsey, retired music teacher. Cited for a broken taillight that wasn't broken. Brigg had searched her trunk without cause. Then Morris Harlan, now wearing a brown blazer and a tired face. He looked at Brigg only once before stating, I protected that man once. I regret it every day. Each story peeled away another layer. Brigg's defense tried redirecting blame, stressful workload, years of service, misinterpretation under pressure. But the room had already decided. The final witness was unexpected. A teenage boy, 16, nervous but resolute. I was walking home from band practice. He told me I looked suspicious. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. Langston leaned forward. Why come here today? Because I saw Mr. Trenor stand up. And I thought maybe it was time. Silence swept through the courtroom. Then Malik stood. The judge allowed a brief statement. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't point fingers. He looked straight ahead. I didn't want a headline. I wanted dinner with my grandmother. I was treated like a threat for existing. That's not justice. That's fear wearing a uniform. He sat down. The judge nodded once. We will reconvene in 30 minutes for ruling. Outside, clouds gathered. People stood in quiet clusters. No shouting. Just anticipation. Back inside, the courtroom filled again. The judge returned, holding a single sheet of paper. After reviewing the presented evidence, testimonies, and historical complaints, the court finds sufficient grounds for disciplinary action and public accountability. Officer Brigg is hereby found guilty of misconduct and submitting a false police report. No cheers followed. Just the weight of a long breath, finally released. Brigg lowered his head. His lawyer whispered something he didn't hear. The badge on his chest, already tarnished, would never shine again. Later that evening, Malik sat beneath his grandmother's porch light. The sun had dipped low, casting soft gold across the lawn. Danica brought 2 cups of coffee and joined him in the silence. They saw it, she said quietly. Yeah, he replied, but now they can't unsee it. Down the street, porch, lights flicked on one by one. Somewhere, a child practiced saxophone, notes floating through the air like promises. Malik didn't smile, but his eyes, for the first time in days, softened, because silence had lost, and the town, finally, had started to listen.